Welcome back to another live stream appointment of today's Communicators. I am your host, Kris Reichert. And as always, we are multi-streaming right now to various platforms. And in fact, today, for the very first time, we're streaming live organically to LinkedIn. So this is a big event. And also for the first time to my brand new Twitch channel. So hello to anybody that's following the live stream. I'm really excited about today's live stream because I have with me in the broadcast studios best-selling author and transformational coach, also a dear friend of mine, Lucia Giovannini. Hello, Lucia. How are you?
Hello, Kris. It's so nice to be here with you.
Wow, it's so nice to have you. We haven't seen each other in years. You're Italian, and we've always seen each other in Italy because I've had you as a guest on my radio show on Radio 105 years ago when you had just released, I think, one of your 13 books. In Italian, I remember it was Tutta un'altra vita, and that's been translated into a brand new, a whole new life.
Here it is.
Excellent.
The US
Wonderful.
Here.
Beautiful. How many languages has that been translated to?
I guess we are at 9 languages now, including Arabic, which is something I'm super proud of because, you know, it was a dream of mine. And I mean, I don't even know. Well, actually, to be honest, yes, I know why. But because, you know, a dream of mine has always been to unite the world, to communicate across cultures and religions and different color scheme and different, you know, cultures and countries. And so
it goes beyond the external, beyond the identity, right? Yes,
exactly. Because I think that in the end, the human soul is so similar. The needs, the sense of, you know, belonging, the need for love, for acceptance, for growth is similar. And then we express it in different ways. And of course, there are different cultural conditionings and so on and so forth. But at the end, I'm so fascinated by the human soul. And so, to make a long story short, and so I had this dream of managing to reach, you know, those countries. And well, a few years ago, a lady from a publishing house in Kuwait reached to me and said, "We'd like to publish your book in Arabic." I said, "That's wonderful."
Wow. To think that culture is embracing, you know, what you've written about, and this is it's about, I hate to say it's spirituality, but it is about our energetic beings and how we can change our lives and we can transform and we can have an open perspective and bring on new, you know, mental states and awareness. So that is phenomenal. Congratulations on that.
Yeah. I'm so happy about that. And well, I mean, and then the COVID hit, but before the COVID, I did a workshop in Dubai, a couple of workshops in Dubai, actually. And then I was supposed to go to Abu Dhabi for the presentation of the book to the Arabic countries. And then the COVID hit and everything got canceled. And that's a story we all know somehow.
We all know that story. And actually, so you're in Thailand right now, and that's where you've been ever since COVID hit, because in a way you're kind of trapped there?
Yeah, no, well, actually, this is where I live. This is where I'm based, between here and Bali. So I should be in Bali right now, but actually I'm kind of trapped here, and it's not a bad place to be trapped in.
No.
But this is my base here in Bali. I have 2 houses, one here and one in Bali. And then I was able to come to Italy for a few months last winter because I had some workshops in Italy, and luckily I was able to do them because they were like September, October, so there was not many restrictions at that time. And then I stayed a little longer also because I hadn't seen my dog for a whole year.
Oh.
And so when I was there in Italy, I didn't want to leave because I couldn't bring him with me, because he's, you know, older now, but also because with the COVID restrictions, coming back here, I had to go through 14 days of quarantine in a hotel.
Yeah.
And the hotel, there's no hotel here that would allow dogs for quarantine. So,
okay. Yeah. So Lucia, let's talk a bit about what you do, because it is so impressive. I know that years ago when you were on my radio show, we talked about what you were doing then, but I know that you've evolved and you've really progressed and really grown, both as a professional, but also in what you do and how you impact people and the world, especially by means of transforming, helping them, giving them the tools so that they can transform their lives. And one of the things that you talk about, what you teach, is how to love ourselves, because through loving ourselves, we can achieve happiness and well-being in life. Now, what are some of the things that stop us, would you believe, from achieving that?
Well, I think we all have those, like conditioning beliefs. Most of them come from our childhood, where we see ourselves as not whole and complete, or not worthy, or not good enough, or not beautiful enough, or smart enough, etc., etc. You can put any word after that, not blah 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 in it.
Yeah, it's like the beginning and the end. Put a word in the middle.
So, and it may vary from person to person, but this big, conditioning belief, I think that most of us, I wouldn't say all of us, but probably yes, have gone through that during our childhood. So of course, when we don't see our wholeness, our completeness, our infinite worth and value, then lots of things happen. What I mean by that is that we try to counterbalance by looking for that, value and worth outside of us. So we need proofs of our values. We need someone else to tell us that we are valuable. We need outside circumstances to give ourselves or other people to give us permission to be happy, to be the best that we can. And at the end, it is never enough. Our successes are never enough. What we do is never enough. Our money, the money we have is never enough. The love we get is never enough. Because it's like there's a big void within us, and it's like having a bucket with a hole. Yes. Of course, you can pour water into that bucket, but if there's a hole, the water is gonna come out anyway. So our life, in that sense, becomes a continuous, action, a series of actions in which we try to fill that bucket, but it becomes mission impossible. Yeah. So that's why the base, of filling that bucket with self-love. And by self-love, I mean recognizing, seeing the beauty that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in every one of us. Seeing our talents, our capacities, seeing and recognizing and honoring our infinite worth and value for who we are, not for what we do. And that's the big difference.
Wow. Because, yes.
Yeah, otherwise we link our value to what we do. But I mean, of course, sometimes we may do, things that bring us to success. Sometimes we are good at what we do. Sometimes we make mistakes. But that's normal. That's being human. And if we link our value to what we do instead of to who we are, then our self-efficacy or self-esteem, as someone calls it, goes up and down.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's the common the teachings that oftentimes parents tell to their children, or I hope that they do. I really hope I do to my son. But that if you can't love another person until you truly love yourself, yes. Because you won't have your well is going to be empty. So unless you have a well that's full of that love, you can't actually externalize that and give that love to somebody else as well. And so my son knows already the drill. And when I say, who's the person you need to love the most in the world? And at first he would say mama, and I'd say, no, dada, no. And I'd say, you have to love you more than anybody else in the world. And that's the most important thing.
Precisely. Yeah. That's really the message to give to children. And that's the message to give ourselves to. Now, many people think that's a selfish way of thinking, but in reality it's not. Because when we love ourselves, then let's go back to the metaphor of the well or of the bucket, whatever we want to use. When that well or that bucket is full, then the water overflows naturally and reach other people and reach the whole world, actually.
Yeah.
When that bucket is empty, we go around with this empty bucket to people saying, fill it up, please, fill it up, please, fill it up, please. And we set expectations on people and we get angry if they don't fill it up, etc., etc., etc. I remember once in an interview, I was trying to explain this concept. And by the way, it was Italian in my own mother language. I ended up, screwing it up a little bit. I wanted to, convey the message that if we have a void, nobody can fill that void except ourselves. And I said, and I was talking, about women especially, because it's a conditioning belief of everybody, but especially for women. And so I said, we as women, we cannot expect men to fill our holes. Oh! And the cameraman, the journalist, everybody were men. So there's like, look at me.
I'm glad you told that story. I've said quite a few things live on, because I would always broadcast live on television and on the radio in Italian, which is my second language. And the things that I came up with, that's for another day, and it's for a private conversation. I'll tell you the things I said, but that's hilarious.
Yeah. But that's
it's almost like outsourcing our business. It's like it's expecting somebody else to do what we're supposed to actually do. And I just wanted to touch on something really quickly. You mentioned earlier that a lot of people consider loving ourselves to be egotistical. And I think that there is a definite line to be drawn here between what we do because we think only of ourselves and we don't consider other people, which is egoism. And it's entirely different if we could do what makes us truly happy, as long as it doesn't affect anyone negatively around us, the world could be such a wonderful place. Because by doing that, we would truly do what makes us happy. We wouldn't do things because we're accommodating or because we become selfless, but for the wrong reasons. We have to do things because they are exactly what we really want to do. But as long as we're not affecting anybody else negatively, I think.
No, I totally follow you on that. I totally agree. And the thing is, when we do things because we think we should, like we feel obliged, and most of the time is like we feel obliged to say yes, when in fact our whole system would scream no.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we do that out of a false sense of, I do it for the other person, but in reality we become resentful deep inside. And so some will find a way or another to make the other person pay for that. So the fact that we become resentful will sooner or later come to the surface, and we'll end up, like with a harsh maybe comment, or somehow the other person will have to pay for that. We'll make the other person pay for that, and that is not really the base for loving relationships.
Yes, it's funny, but I went through something. I'm going to talk about a personal incident, but with my partner, we've been through thick and thin. We've had ups and downs. We've been together for 13 years. We actually did go to couple therapy, but it wasn't because of the couple therapy that I came to a eureka moment. And it was a eureka moment that I needed to concentrate on what made me happy. And I needed to do things in accordance to only what made me happy. And I had to take away all expectancies from him. I needed to free him from expecting him to tell me that thing I wanted to hear, expecting him to do that thing I wanted him to do. I just had to start to become happy with who I was and with how I felt, and to, to live my life in terms of that. And I started doing that, and my whole life transformed, and my relationship transformed, and we're still happily here. I do believe because I did that work, and it is work. Things like this don't come easily. We have to be prepared to also recognize that we all play a part in, in relationships, but that's also another story. Now, Lucia, your credentials are so impressive. You have a doctorate in psychology and counseling. You're a member of the American Psychological Association, and you're co-founder of Bless You International. Plus, you are considered the Louise Hay of Italy because you're the only one that actually teaches her methods in Italy. Now, for anybody that doesn't know Louise Hay, do you want to give just a sum up on what are her teachings and what you do with that and how you help other people with that?
So Louise Hay is considered the mother of positive thinking, the mother of personal development in a way. She had a very harsh childhood with violence and abuses and so on and so forth, and poverty. And then she, by the way, she ended up being a model like us.
We modeled together. I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
and then, I mean, after a very bad divorce, she ended up in the personal development. She had needed to find a way to heal herself. She got through cancer, and she healed herself thanks to her methodology. And so then after that, she created her own publishing house, which is still, very, very famous. And now she passed away a few years ago at almost 90 years old. And her methodology is very simple in a way, simple because it touches on it is based on the basic principles of all, spiritual teachings in a way. And I got to know her many, many years ago, and she actually helped me out in some difficult times, in some transitions I went through in my own life. In one of my divorces, I've been married 3 times now. Nicola is my third husband, and now happily married. I've been happily married for like more than 20 years now. So I think I'm set, but in my past it wasn't like that. It has not always been easy. And so also she helped me in my transition in work, from being a model to this. And so I studied with her. I did the whole teachers training, and now I teach teachers. So I'm the only trainer for Italy and Switzerland and Thailand and a few countries. So and such an honor to bring this work to the world.
Yes, and that is just so wonderful that you do that. I remember you've been doing this for quite some time, and I absolutely love the works of Louise Hay because she would teach that every symptom in our body that our bodies give us is actually a sign. It's our sign. It's a sign of our bodies telling us something, and we need to learn to listen to what our body is telling us. And then along with that, she had a whole list of positive affirmations to say regarding each ailment. So if, for example, I'm just going to hypothetically invent something, but I think that if something goes wrong with our feet continuously, we keep hitting our feet, we keep hurting our toes, or, and we're limping, it's actually, we have some kind of blockage with moving forward in life, because our feet symbolically are on our legs so that we can walk and we can move forward in life. And so she would have a positive affirmation to say regarding the feet, like, I move through life easily and efficiently. And it's something like that. And I remember I loved this work because not only did she explain why certain things occur, but she would give a practical affirmation to say, which then can transform how we think and the messages that our brain gives to our bodies, and can actually result in the changing of our physiological state based on our thought patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I say it's so simple and so practical. And
Yeah.
this is what I love about this methodology, because, of course, there are other methodologies which are more complicated. You have to get really a big, cognitive, effort, or go through lots of teachings before getting the methodology and being able to actually use it in your life. And some methodologies actually are not practical at all. They are just, philosophical, interesting,
Yes.
but they are not really useful. You cannot bring all that philosophy in your everyday life. And for me, spirituality has to be practical, because otherwise there's no sense. It's a nice, cognitive exercise, but then if it doesn't really help you to change your life, to become a better mother, a better spouse, better at your work, what's the point of all this? A better person, more compassionate, more loving towards others, towards yourself. What's the point of, all the spiritual path? So in that sense, Luisa is very, very practical and very, in a way, I would say, down to earth spirituality.
Wonderful. Love it, because I watched quite a few testimonials on your website that are some from some people that went on your retreats and took your workshops. And they all say that about you, that they experienced an amazing, intense transformation inside. They experienced growth, new perspective, but it was all very practical. Like it was something that they could apply to their lives, and they could easily, the week later be utilizing on a daily basis. And so that's where it has to be. In fact, I remember when I learned, I bought this massive book on how to meditate, and it taught you all of the different meditation practices. And there was transcendental meditation, but there were practices that were not practical. And, you'd have to be on the tip of the Himalaya mountaintops at 5 a.m. in the morning in order to be able to practice certain forms of meditation. Whereas we live in the Western world, we need to be able to just, like, in the midst of our hectic lives, as we're getting breakfast ready for our kids and rushing out the door to work, we need to be able to understand how we can apply that in our hectic scheduling. And so, so that's great what you're teaching, because it's definitely working.
Yeah, absolutely. Because otherwise the risk is, to let's say, for example, let's take meditation as an example. There are lots of people who, start out with a good intent, but then drop it after, a short while. And they end up saying meditation is not for me. Of course, if you think that in order to become a meditator, you need to meditate an hour, even just, an hour a day, it's a lot. And of course, I'm not saying it's not good to meditate an hour a day. If you have an hour a day, that's fantastic. But for most of us, it doesn't work. But even for monks, I studied with monks here, and very few of them meditates that long. Very few.
Really?
Yeah. For most of them, it's like 20 minutes. It's shorter shots, and some of them don't even
meditate. Even for the monks.
Yeah. They are more busy, like cleaning the monastery, preparing food and offering food for the people who are in need, and that is their meditation. And they themselves say, you don't need, of course, you need to meditate at least a little bit, to just sit quiet with yourself, to center yourself. And that is true. Maybe sometimes they use mantra, sometimes they use just visualization, sometimes they use breathing, and that's okay. But the rest is bring your meditation into your daily practice.
Exactly. I've adapted a method that really works for me. I set my alarm for 6:13 every morning. And I get up, usually my son and the household wakes up around 7. So I have an hour, less than an hour. And, I go out and I do some yoga. So I get my body all nice and stretched out and feeling good and centered. And then I usually only get 10 minutes to meditate, maybe 15 on a good day. But that's enough, because as long as it's consistent, and as much as it's consistent, you get to that place that you need to get to faster every day. And you get there. And it just gives you solace for the day, and that centered feeling and focus. And I find that without that focus, if I miss a couple of days in a row, which has happened many times, you tend to lose that focus. And that's when you can, get those swirling thoughts. And that's when when your well gets a little bit depleted, and you need to be consistent with filling that up and consistently reassuring also ourselves and what we're doing, and that we are safe in the world, and that things are being taken care of, and that there's, the greater good that's in the workings as a, anyway.
Yeah, and that's the power of routine,
Yes.
And there's a big power in simple actions, like waking up a little bit earlier, for example, or carving some time for yourself. But the idea is the same time every day. That is what makes it easier. So it becomes a habit. And then decided, okay, what are the the 2-3 most important, actions I can do in that time to nourish my soul. And definitely something has to do with, there has to be a part regarding your body, like moving your body, because we in our society, we sit too much, and the more we sit, the more our mind spins and moves, because by sitting too much, we produce a lot of energy, mental energy, and that mental energy has to be focused and directed and managed. And if it's not, then our mind spins and goes crazy. So moving our body, even without having to make big efforts, just walking or doing some yoga, some stretching, this is really, really beneficial. And then some form of meditation, but just sitting, like in the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian, holy scripture, they would say, just take out I think they used to say, tiger skin, which I don't like the idea, but anyway, because they would meditate in caves. But anyway, like your mattress or your mat, and sit and be still. That's the thing. And sit with yourself for a few minutes and be still, and that makes a big difference. But just a few minutes. You don't need to overdo it.
Absolutely. It's so true. You just need such a minimal amount of time to get to that state, and to just feel your day is kind of set up in the right way. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I wanted to go back a little bit to, during your workshops and during your retreats, you talk about limiting beliefs that keep us held back from achieving what we would like to achieve in our lives, whether it be success, our goals, our relationships. And sometimes we grow up with these limiting beliefs. Now, what, without giving away too much, but what would you say would be the easiest and most practical method that people could overcome some of these limiting beliefs when they have them?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So let's see. The first step is definitely awareness, because if we are not aware of what's going on within us, we definitely have no chance of changing it. So awareness, also in my methodology, A Whole New Life, is definitely the first step to transformative change. Awareness means, okay, this is going on in my life. This is the limiting beliefs that is blocking me. Every time I try to do this happens, like every time I move a step forward towards my goal, I encounter a challenge, for example, because maybe my belief is that I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve to have the job of my dream, for example, or the relationship of my dream. Or, for example, as we mentioned before, I'm not good enough. So no matter what I do, I won't be able to reach my goals. So what is the awareness is needs to be awareness about where I want to go, but also what is blocking me. What are the thoughts, conditioning beliefs, patterns that keep on coming up? And to stimulate awareness, it's quite simple, actually, because you just do it with some coaching questions, like what am I feeling right now? First coaching question. Be aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your tensions in the body, because as you mentioned before, body and mind are interconnected. So if there's a tension in the body, there's a tension in the mind. and so, for example, you may feel a strong tension in the shoulders, and it may mean that we feel burdened by life. Our shoulders carry our burdens. Or maybe we have contraction in our stomach, and it's because it's difficult for us to digest the experiences in our life we are living in our life. So being aware of what is going on, and of course being also aware of where you want to go. And then when those limiting beliefs come up and surface, because when you practice awareness, you can actually see them surfacing. You recognize them. Oh, it's my own limiting belief. Interesting. So you start questioning it. Is it true? Is it really true that I don't deserve this? Is it really true that I don't deserve to be happy? Is it really true that I'm not good enough? Is it really true that other people are better than me? Is it really true that I'm a bad person? Whatever those limiting beliefs are. And when we start questioning those limiting beliefs, we often find out that they are not true. They're just, an illusion of our mind. Maybe they are something that those messages are there because we kept there, as we said, from our childhood, and we heard someone telling that to us, like, you're not good enough, oh, you're a bad boy, you're a bad girl, you shouldn't do this, etc., you're selfish. And then we internalized those messages, and we believed in those, and we kept them with us for our whole life. But of course, it's just thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. So the moment we question them, they start, to shatter. The beliefs start to shatter and we can, look at them and say, is it really true? Haven't there be any time where it wasn't like that? For example, I'm not good enough. Okay, is it true? You amount to nothing. Did I really am I really not able to do anything in my life? Was there a time where I was able to do something? Of course there was, I'm not lovable. Is it really true? Nobody loves me. Is it really true? Nobody. I mean,
well, essentially, usually when a limiting belief is told to us, it's usually happening between the ages of 0 and 6 years. So when we're children, we don't have that knowledge yet, that way of understanding that this is not reality. It's actually what we're being told. And so we take that as a truth, and we grow up with that. And so that's where a lot of our perception is limited in our lives. And we grew up thinking those things. And so, it's important to kind of like turn them around and even find an opposite statement that we can start saying to ourselves, that we can convince ourselves otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So here is where affirmations come in.
Yes.
Okay. But to make to use affirmation at their fullest. So let's take a step back. The risk with using affirmation without actually doing the rest of the work is that our mind don't believe it. Doesn't believe it. So yes, I'm lovable, and there's a little voice that says, no, you're not. and so we start fighting, but it's an inner fight. It's an inner thing, and who wins? Nobody wins, because it happens inside ourselves. So if we combine affirmations with this awareness work, where we start creating setting the foundations for the affirmation, like is there anything in my body, in myself, that is at least a little bit lovable? Maybe my nails, maybe my hair, maybe the way I speak, maybe the fact that sometimes I help people, so I'm not that selfish after all, just to give idea.
Yeah, but to put the focus on the positive aspects, on the things that you are, that you do love about yourself, or that you are worthy of, or that you are recognized for, as opposed to shining the light on the negative.
Not working. Yeah, exactly. And so combined with that, you actually practice affirmations. So it's like building the foundation and putting affirmations on top. And then affirmations help you grow new neuronal circuits.
Right, exactly. Wow, wonderful. That is fantastic. Wow, thanks, Lucia, for that. Now, I just wanted to ask you, during this whole COVID period of time, and when we were in our first lockdown last year, I found that, really one of the gifts that I believe it gave me, I know I'm not underestimating and I'm not diffusing any of the tragedy that it caused in the world. But what I'm saying is that if we really look, there were some positives that we can pull from
Absolutely.
that. There were life lessons. And I, for one, definitely learned the lesson of adaptability, because when we all, from one day to the next, had to deal with this complete and sudden change, it really did push us into adapting into a new way of being, a new way of living, and a new way of working even. And so with this acquired skill of adaptability, it really allowed me to overcome some of my challenges. Now, so you teach and help people to overcome some of their challenges. Mm-hmm. Do you find that also this was a great opportunity, even what we went through, to overcome a challenge?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, it was a great lesson for everybody. I think adaptability is definitely something that is true for almost everybody, if not everybody. Mm-hmm. It was true definitely for me as well. And of course, and this is something that I guess most people already know, but the crisis or the difficulties can be seen in two ways. There's always two sides of a medal. It can be seen just as, a bad experience, a difficult experience, which it was, by the way. I'm not negating this.
Yes.
But it can always be seen as the other side of the medal, like a lesson. And again, it depends on which questions. And again, here comes the importance of coaching questions, self-coaching questions. So instead of asking, oh, how terrible is that? How will I can ever, get out from this, etc. Asking, okay, what can I learn from this? And then it changes your perspective completely. So for some people, for example, they were pushed to learn new skills, and they created new jobs. For example, they found new talents, new opportunities. They created new opportunities. Some people they started new projects online. Some people had finally had the possibility of stopping, from the rat race, and started looking inside and questioned their life choices. So if, of course, as always, if we take the challenges also from, and again, I don't want to undermine the challenge, but we also take the opportunity that is within every challenge, then we can use it as a transformative tool.
Yes. Oh, love that. Love that. Absolutely. Agree 100%. Lucia, this has been phenomenal having this conversation with you. I thank you so much. Now, anybody that's watching the live stream or that will watch the recording, where can they find you? What's your website?
So my website is luciagiovannini.com. So my name.com. And then there's this is my English website, and for people who speak Italian, from my English website there's a banner that says, "Do you speak Italian?" And if you click on that, you are redirected to another website, which is blessyou.me. So, and of course, they can find me in my social media, like
yes,
LinkedIn,
of course,
Facebook, Instagram,
with your name, Lucia Giovannini. Okay.
Yeah.
And what about your book, A Whole New Life? Where can
A Whole New Life is on Amazon.
Okay.
So you can find it, and also the others in different languages, like in German, in French, in Spanish, etc. And then my books in Italian, which I have many. This is just the last one on happiness, The Permission to Be Happy. You can find it also on Amazon, but also on my website.
Wonderful. And you also have quite a few books where you talk about veganism,
Yes.
raw food, and yes, how to live, a very clean and healthy life,
Yeah.
360 degrees, which is from your mind, body, and spirit, right? Perspective.
Yeah. And
Wonderful.
also I'm a strong advocate, for animals and nature, because I think that we are all connected. And when we are aware of this connection, connection between all the sentient living beings, then our life changes. And we feel more at home in, on Mother Earth. We feel safer on this planet, whatever, no matter what is going on around us, because again, we feel this connection, and this strong connection, life force connection, is so nurturing for our soul.
Yes.
So yeah.
Definitely. Oh, wonderful. That is great. Lucia, thank you. Thank you again so much for being here with me. I know it's later in the evening there in Thailand, so you're probably going to wrap things up for the day very soon.
Yeah.
And I hope to see you soon, whether it's us going over to Thailand to visit or to Bali, where you hold many of your workshops and retreats. And of course, all of that information is on your website if anybody's interested in checking them out and getting some more information. Or maybe the next time you're in Italy, I would love to see you, and I'd love to have a catch up together.
Yes, let's do that. I'll come to Italy this winter anyway, because I have a few workshops in Italy. So yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. Okay, honey. I'm giving you a big, huge virtual hug, and we'll see you really soon. Thanks, everybody, for joining the live stream, and anybody watching the recording. Thanks for watching the recording, and we'll see you 2 Wednesdays from now, always at 15 Central European Time and 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with another appointment of today's Communicators. All right, bye for now, everybody. See you soon. Bye, Lucia.
Bye.